Hey,
Hey
John.
Eric, how you doing tonight?
Hey, John. I'm starting again.
Oh, hi Eric, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Recording a little late because I at least was dead last night.
I was
So,
an equivalent level of aliveness. So it
yeah. So
was a long day
it's all good.
yesterday. It
It's all good.
was a long day.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, we had a 3-day weekend, and you made it back from Utah to Oregon
Yes, I did.
or something.
Uh yes, that was an accurate
That
statement.
seems like it was a long time ago at
It
this
does
point,
seem
doesn't
like
it?
because we've been to Seattle since then.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's all good.
Um,
All good. All good.
how was Easter?
So Easter was fun. I had, like I said, the pleasant drive home. Um, got home Friday night, late Friday night. And then Easter Sunday, I have been itching to pull out my fancy smoker
Hmm.
for a while, and so I tried. Actually, my wife found a recipe for making a smoked ham that you slow cook in a smoker and then shred it. It gets to the point where you can shred it like
Oh,
shredded pork, but she wanted to try shredded
but
ham.
shredded ham. Interesting.
Yes. And so I had some ribs already. I was already planning on doing ribs, and I tried smoking the ham, and clearly it did not stay in the smoker long enough.
Probably need to leave
I
it in for a long time to be able to shred it.
the recipe said 6 to 7 hours, and I it was 4 hours by the time 5 hours by the time we pulled it out because it was cold outside, on Sunday, and every time I'd
It
open the
was.
thing up, I blame the weather, not the fact that I went short. Um, but
So wait, you opened it up a bunch,
I opened
and
it
you
up a
didn't cook it
bunch.
long enough,
I had to,
and
move things around
and
because I had 2 racks of rib in there as well.
oh,
So,
I see, I see, I
I had
see.
to
Yeah,
squirt them with the apple cider vinegar.
I see.
Uh, anyways,
So anyway, so it was only
however,
a moderate success. Oh,
it was still very, very tasty. So
well, it's
the
ham.
ham was very tasty. It was already cooked. It was hard to screw up,
Okay.
but it was still very tasty. Um, the ribs also didn't stand long enough. The last time I made ribs, they fell off the bone. These one you had to gnaw off the bone, so less tasty. But that was my Easter Sunday. I think there were other like vegetables and a potato dish, but I just remember the ham and the ribs. So
But basically, you're out of practice. You
yeah,
need to
I
like
just need to get a
get your
little more
grilling
practice.
muscles back
Yeah,
for
and,
spring.
and I'm very excited. I have a grandniece. I don't know how that works. My nephew's daughter is 2, I think, almost 2,
Okay.
and she loves ribs and will just gnaw on bones and
Okay.
ribs and like get them clean. And I have said, you come to Oregon, I will make you ribs and brisket.
Come
So
to Uncle Eric's house.
that's right. You're welcome to bring your parents. That's optional. But yeah, she's a
No,
cutie.
that's fun.
Anyways,
That's fun.
yeah. So that was my weekend. How was yours?
Um, well, since we had Friday off, I forget if I mentioned on the podcast that I know I told you at lunch that I couldn't actually go into my front door.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah,
finally
yeah.
got that
For well, yeah. So
addressed.
on
Literally.
Friday, I think Friday morning, maybe it was Thursday night, because I knew I was off on Friday, and the place that I had to go to order the latch rebuild kit was in downtown Portland, and they were only open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, which is difficult for me to actually get to.
Mm-hmm.
But with Friday off, and they evidently did not celebrate Good Friday or quote unquote spring holiday,
Mm-hmm.
I had called and said, "Hey, I haven't gotten a call. Is my latch rebuild kit in?" And they said, "Oh yeah, sorry, we didn't call you." so, so one of my errands on Friday was I could make it downtown, and when they were open, and the main person in their lock smith shop, Tony,
Mm-hmm.
had said if you bring the handle
He'll
and
just do it.
lock
Yeah, yeah.
down, he'll just do it. And he's like, it'll take me 5 minutes. And yeah, I don't think it even took him 5 minutes. And okay, it wasn't that complicated, but it would have been my try number one, and it was his try number, I don't know, 5,212.
Right.
So he totally put it together, and then I pretty much had to come home and put it back on the front door, and now I have a front door that works.
You
so
can go in and out your front door.
Well, we could go out.
Oh, that's right.
You just
could
couldn't
go
come
out.
back in because the
You had to get someone on the
handle
inside
on the inside
to
would
let you
would
in.
like turn far enough that the latch would pull in, but from the outside, the little thumb depressor thing did not move the latch sufficiently to disengage it from the door. So yeah, and there were a couple of times where I got stuck, or I went out and accidentally closed the door behind me, and then went and had to go around to the garage and come in. And anyway,
yeah.
so that was a good Friday task.
Okay.
Along with lots of other. Saturday was beautiful, so Friday morning and pretty much all day Saturday were farming stuff.
Farming stuff.
The bees got checked. They got their first mite treatment of the spring. They're doing good.
So you got one solid hive or two hives?
Got one solid hive. One solid hive.
Okay.
And I bought 2 more nukes. So in another week and a half, I think it's May 3rd-ish, I should get my other 2 nukes. That'll take me back up to 3 hives. Yeah, it was fun.
Cool.
Good weekend.
All right.
Good weekend.
Nice.
We did not do anything fancy on Easter. We also had ham, but it was literally the sliced ham that you put in the frying pan and fry for like a little bit to warm it up, which is perfectly fine and tasty, especially with the Asian pear sauce.
Okay.
Which we made. That's really
demi-glaze.
Good. Well, no, just I don't know. I grew up eating ham and applesauce. And this is not fancy. And this is the fancy stuff is instead of applesauce, it's Asian pear sauce. Which is delicious, but anyway, it's all good.
Nice.
So hey, what'd you bring for topics this week?
So mine, I thought I would throw in a little bit more of, what is it? The S in IoT stands for security. So millions of devices. So this is an article about a record-breaking botnet, and it's millions of devices reaching their end of life with access to fast internet are turning into a security nightmare. This year, 2025, a record-breaking botnet consisting of 1.33 million devices is wreaking havoc on global services. If this botnet were a country, it would be a very large country like Estonia and bigger than around 50 other countries in the world. Anyways, for comparison, the largest botnet of 2024 was almost 6 times smaller with about 227,000 devices. I would have thought that botnets were in the millions. I was unaware that a million device botnet is record breaking.
I'm just thinking back to Mirai. Wasn't Mirai like hundreds of thousands? That's the first gigantic one that I thought.
Anyway,
at its peak, Mirai infected over 600,000 vulnerable IoT devices.
Okay.
Smaller than I remembered.
So anyways, all these devices, half of them seem to be located in Brazil, and then it drops off to less than 10% Argentina, Russia, Iraq, Mexico, and other countries. And this growth of this massive botnet is attributed to the increasing number of outdated and vulnerable devices in developing countries. So a lot of it comes from many cheap devices using off-brand Android things with malware pre-installed and Google security features disabled.
Feel like we talked about that a little bit. And I will have you know my chicken door is not connected to my Wi-Fi.
Dang.
It is definitely a cheap device, IoT device.
So they've authorities and internet service providers have sinkholed around 5 million devices.
Ooh, wow.
But the big thing here is the botnets are a trend in rising DDoS botnets built from devices located in developing countries. And hackers are taking advantage of this. The first quarter of 2025 saw a 110% increase in DDoS attacks compared to a year earlier. And the surge follows a 50% increase observed in 24 and 23. So there you go. Botnets and DDoS attacks are on the rise, and it's going to get you. Cheap Android devices with security features disabled by default.
Not just security disabled by default, but comes with free malware.
You get what you pay for.
Is there going to be traction in the US to not enable this? Not that you're protected given the, global nature of the internet, but don't buy the cheapest IoT device you can. And if you do, have it on a different network and don't leave it just online forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. Well, my topic, maybe you could say topics, but really it's a topic, is related in the sense that it's, there were a couple of reports that have come out this month. In particular, the Google M Trends and the Verizon DBIR, the data breach internet report, incident report, I think. But anyway, instead of linking to those reports, which are hundreds and hundreds of pages, I will link to a Risky Biz summary that Catalan pulled out the sort of
salient pieces.
Top things. Salient is such a great word. So they're also a little bit different, right? The Google M Trends is based on Mandiant incident management items, which pretty much means like large government things. They even say, think of, quote, multinationals, highly public incidents, government agencies, big crypto hacks, and loads of Google Cloud-related incidents. So the first chart, and lots of charts. The first, which, I'll have to kind of describe it here, but the first chart he pulled out of here, one of the interesting facts on this one is email phishing a decline. Now, remember, this is in enterprises, not necessarily consumers, but in enterprises, a decline in email phishing being the initial infection vector for an incident. So 2 years ago, so I guess this report summarizes 2024. So in 2022, email was at 22%. In 2024, it's down to 14%.
That seems, because we've talked about, with the rise of AI making it harder to identify.
It is, which is true. But I think enterprises are also doing way better than they did a few years ago with having training, having every place you email these days, I get it seemingly at least a banner. Even if I'm emailing with somebody outside, there's a banner that says this, this email originated from outside the organization. Be careful of any links in it.
Yeah.
And and lots of link proxying in enterprises to try to safeify them. But anyway, so that was interesting. The stolen credentials is up, by the way, though, from 14% to 16%. So that was interesting. So the second interesting point that Catalan pulled out was about the dwell time. And the interesting thing in here is if they have a table that basically the y-axis is years, and then the x-axis is how long it is. So the y-axis goes from 2018 to 2024, and the x-axis goes from less than a week, 8 to 30 days, 31 days to 6 months, all the way up to 5 years or more. So like how long was an attacker able to persist in the network before being discovered and I presume and remediated. But like if you look in just the first column, back in 2018, only 15% of incidents had a dwell time of less than 1 week, meaning that 85% had a dwell time of greater than 1 week. Whereas in 2024, for incidents, 45% of them had a dwell time of less than 1 week. So over the last 7 years, it's gone from 15% to 45% are discovered in under, well, less than or equal to 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn good. The comment was that quote, the reason here is that MDRs and NDRs are getting better, so attackers can't set up tents and wait until they go through all victims' data. So, that's cool. That's good. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Third, interesting factoid: the observed malware families by category in 2024. 35% were backdoor. The next highest single category was ransomware at 14%. But basically, that makes sense because the first thing that's going to get deployed is a backdoor of some sort, so that they can deploy other software and figure out what else to do. So that's interesting. I think the last one of these that I'll pull out is that what was the initial infection vector in 24? Brute force passwords was 26%.
Wow.
Which kind of shocked me.
That seems high.
Yeah.
That means we still haven't learned how to do passwords.
or we still haven't learned how to throttle or detect repeated attempts. So, or invalidate a password after so many bad tries. So that was a little surprising. This number, I guess there was a tie for second place, which was stolen credentials, 21%, and use of an exploit at 21%. So,
okay,
that was interesting. So, out of the Verizon incident report, let's see. Some sort of interesting things here. So the first is that this is a very different set of data. So it says this year the report included data from over 22,000 security incidents from organizations around the world. Interesting in this they actually show that credential abuse was on the decline from 2023 to 2024. Down from 40-ish% to 21% or so. So that was interesting. They had phishing holding relatively constant, and exploitation of vulnerabilities was the infection or vector that wound up being increasing. It looks like increased from 5-ish% to 20-ish% between 23 and 25. So that's interesting. Again, that's across, let's see. It says known initial access vectors over time in non-error, non-misuse breaches. The N in 2025 data set was 9,891. So out of a large number of those breaches. Some other sort of factoids he pulled out of the Verizon report. Half of the corporate systems were infected with info stealers. Half of the corporate systems that were infected with info stealers were not managed via corporate servers, so the infection went unnoticed by companies. Gotta love BYOD.
BYOS? BYO server?
Bring your own vulnerability. BYOV. Anyway, it says a third of systems advertised on underground credential shops or corporate systems.
Okay.
Interesting. Third-party companies now account for 30% of breaches. So be careful who you contract with. Oof, that's a brutal stat.
Yeah.
44% of breaches involved ransomware. High, but money. The median paid ransom is 115,000, down from 150 in 2023. And then this was funny. You can thank the proliferation of backups for this one, but also math, because Verizon drew from a larger and more international sample this year. Okay, maybe think math first, then backups. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. Let's see, a couple more. 60% of breaches involved a human interaction, such as phishing, social engineering, and so on. This is down from 80% in 21, so maybe automation is working. I don't know. Let's see. It says the line is, I'm sure the rise in exploits in the initial vector is highly correlated with the decrease in human interacted incident or vectors.
Yeah.
The line is blurring between state-sponsored espionage and financial attacks, which now involve both 28% of the time, which is interesting. And then the final thing that I pulled out of here, or he pulled out of here in this summary, was 15% of employees used Gen AI services, possibly leaking corporate data. So
Okay. That feels
betting,
small.
I'm bet. Yeah, on both sides, right? Well, I am surprised that only 15% of employees use Gen AI services. Yes. But then also, I guess maybe if they're smaller companies, they're unlikely to have an agreement with corporate account or a license to Copilot, or one of the companies, even OpenAI, will not use your data, supposedly. Anyway, yeah, I'm a little surprised it's only 15%. So anyway, great report. There's lots more, and obviously you can click into the actual reports if you want to read hundreds of pages of commentary and charts. So good stuff.
All right.
Something fun?
Well, my fun, being as it was the Easter holiday this past weekend.
Yes.
The road trip home, I listened to a podcast. It's a podcast. Well, I listen to many things on the way home. It's a long drive. But one of the things I listened to was a podcast called The Best One Yet. And it was all about the origin of the Peeps.
Okay. You either love them or hate them.
Marshmallow candy. That's exactly what they said. The marshmallow candy. Anyways, so this actually comes from, and they went kind of a little bit on the history of Easter and how there was a guy whose name was originally Roscoe Rada, and he had started a candy company, come over from I think Eastern Europe, started a candy company down the road from Hershey. Yeah, that Hershey.
Okay.
And Hershey was owning all the holidays, and so or all like Christmas and a lot of the chocolate and everything. So he decided, hey, if Hershey is going to be the king of chocolate, maybe he can be the Earl of Easter. So,
okay.
And because he discovered an untapped market, the Pennsylvania Dutch, who were living nearby all these candies, were very observant Christians. And the highest holy day for them was not Christmas, it was Easter.
Okay.
And so Roscoe Rada looked at the community and saw customers and cornered a market. And they'd been making Easter candies for years, but Roscoe decided to tailor his products not just for Christians, but for these German-descended, Easter-loving Christian neighbors, and starts crafting candies shaped like Germanic Easter symbols that invoke spring, renewal, rebirth of the old country, bunnies, eggs, and chicks. And so he starts making these
Oh, wait.
marshmallows.
Wait, was there a bunny? There was a bunny
Yeah, bunnies, eggs,
before
and
this.
chicks. Yeah, so he starts making these. Yeah, and as he's making these, one of the challenges was these marshmallow candies were taking 27 hours to create a single batch.
Oh, wow.
Right? So it was a one-off thing that he was doing specially for these, because a lot of times the folks as well apparently wouldn't actually eat the marshmallows. Like, we just kind of inhale the Peeps. If you're a Peep fan, you don't eat them, you inhale them. And they would decorate with them as it with these spring symbols, etc. So
Okay.
one of the a couple other fun things about, I mean, it was a long 45-minute thing, and I'll touch a couple more things, but one of the things that you discover in this podcast, they kind of go through the history, is apparently we can actually thank the German immigrants for the Easter Bunny's existence at all. It's part of a German legend about a hare called Osterhase. I don't know, I attempted it, who lays colored eggs in the grass. And
funny.
As for boiling and decorating eggs at springtime, that tradition actually predates Christianity itself. Egg painting was originally a pagan tradition around the spring equinox, so these traditions are millennia old, and they've been merged between paganism and Christianity to create the Easter Bunny in the 19th century in central Pennsylvania. So if you're wondering what Easter eggs had to do with Jesus, you're right in thinking nothing. So, anyways, the marshmallow, the ancient Egyptians would use the sap from the marshmallow plants that grow in the salt marshes on the riverbanks in Egypt. And they would take the sap from the roots and make candy to soothe the sore throats. Anyway, so you learn a bunch of fun facts along the way. This podcast kind of gives you the background history. And so he was making these things. Eventually, he sold the candy company to Born, the Just Born company, who discovers that, hey, he's spending 27 hours making these marshmallow confections. How do I speed that up? And creates a brand whole spanking new machine in the 1950s to generate, instead of taking 27 hours to make a batch, he gets it down to 6 minutes to make a batch.
Wow.
And then it just kind of takes off from there, and they basically own the Easter holiday forever. And then they started, I mean, you see Peeps now, and for the longest time they weren't called Peeps. They were something else. They were marshmallows for Halloween, Christmas. You get the Christmas tree Peeps. They were not called Peeps specifically because Peeps were supposed to be specific to Easter. And the guy who took over, bought it from Roscoe. It developed this thing and started, doing a whole new branding thing. And if you go and talk to any of Roscoe Rada's children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren at this point, they get very upset about the Peeps because they're not Peeps.
Really?
Because they're
not, Peeps are only for Easter.
Peeps are for Easter, and they take 27 hours to build. And apparently the original Peeps with the little chicks had wings. When they tried to automate it, make them faster, they had to simplify the bird. So it's just the two eyeballs.
Simpler extrusion.
Yes. So no wings anymore.
Okay. So
anyway,
so is there,
it's there
any photos associated with this?
No, it was podcast. But
I want to see an original Peep. Okay.
I think you can Google it. Yeah. So anyways, that was the fun part of the Peeps, and listening to that on the road trip home, and gearing up to eat Peeps, which are still upstairs. I am a Peeps fan, but I have to keep that quiet because when I tell people I'm a Peeps fan, then all of a sudden I get hundreds of Peeps, and I don't like them that much. I like them for Easter, and I will inhale the box that I get, and then I'm done. That's all I need. So there you go, Peeps. Peeps, okay. Peeps. A Backroom Marshmallow Mystery is the podcast episode from the best one yet. So it's a great podcast. It's a fun podcast, especially for it's a road trip podcast. I'll put it that way. They do all sorts of topics.
Okay.
So there you go. That's my something
Okay.
fun.
Very cool. I don't know why my this loading this page has seemingly stopped. So and before it loaded the image for originally Peeps had wings.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well. Aw snap, says Chrome. Okay. So my something fun. I don't know if you saw this or not, but promising indication of extraterrestrial life thanks to the James Webb Space Telescope.
Okay.
So it says so this will be a link to a Wired article that summarized this, but it's not one of those eternal Wired articles, just a very short one. It says astronomers have found one of the most promising indications there could be extraterrestrial life on another planet. With the help of the James Webb Space Telescope, researchers detected what they believe could be biosignatures of marine microorganisms on K2-18b, an exoplanet located in the habitable zone of its parent star 124 light years away. Research was led by University of Cambridge. They detected traces of dimethyl sulfide and dimethyl disulfide in the planet's atmosphere. On Earth, these compounds are produced only by microbial life such as phytoplankton. Scientists admit there is a possibility that these substances have been produced on the planet by an unknown chemical process unrelated to microorganisms. Obviously, we're not there. We don't know everything.
Right.
However, they also emphasize that the data represents the strongest evidence to date for possible life on a planet other than our own. Evidently, K2-18b is 8.6 times the mass of Earth, nearly 3 times its size. And it orbits a small, low-temperature star called a red dwarf. The planet is very close to its star, only 33 days to complete an orbit. But due to the red dwarf's low temperature, the planet is in a region of space that, in theory, allows liquid water to exist on its surface. So they called this type of planet, I hadn't heard this before, an example of a Hycean planet. It says that's a, quote, theoretical class of worlds characterized by having vast liquid oceans and a hydrogen-rich atmosphere. According to astrobiologists, discovering a Hycean planet would represent one of the best opportunities to find extraterrestrial life. So, final quote is, earlier theoretical work had predicted that high levels of sulfur-based gases like DMS and DMDS are possible on Hycean worlds. Now we've observed it in line with what was predicted. Given everything we know about this planet, a Hycean world with an ocean that is teeming with life is the scenario that best fits the data we have. Pretty cool.
Very nice. It's two ends of the spectrum there. You got Peeps and life on another planet.
Two ends of the spectrum. Okay. You mean of something fun? Yeah.
Yeah. Of a something fun spectrum. Although in surviving for a long time, Peeps are right up there with the Twinkie. It's hard to ruin a Peep.
I think I would trust an old Peep more than I would trust an old Twinkie.
I'm with you there.
I think it may not actually be cream in the middle of a Twinkie, but it's got to be dairy adjacent. So
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway.
Fun.
All right, my friend.
Yep. Have a good night, John.
Have a great night. I'll talk to you later, Eric.
We'll see you. Bye.
Bye.